I'm so excited that you're here. I've been dying to have this conversation because I have a teenage boy, and this name, Andrew Tate, kept getting mentioned, and occasionally, and he would bring it and say to me, Mum, what do you think of this? Which is a good start, right? Because he doesn't ask me that about a lot of things. And I would watch some of his videos, and when he's talking about not drinking, working really hard, living a clean life, believing in yourself, brilliant. And then he would go down these very dark, very misogynistic, very old-fashioned attitudes that women should be at home and men make all the money. But why is he so popular? What has he tapped into, do you think?
Yeah, I think with Andrew Tate, he's actually probably more intellectual, he's cleverer and probably more manipulative than people realise.
Yeah.
I think there's an aspect of why him and why now, and if we look at those as two separate points, you know, he's somebody that's spent decades in a public arena. He knows how to get people's attention. And obviously nowadays, attention is currency and it's valuable to people. So he's been obviously in professional sports, he's been in reality TV, and now through the prominence of social media, he's managed to game the algorithms to get to a point where he's got a significant audience. People who listen to these messages, some of which are perhaps grounded, and there's some validity in some of the things that he does share. But with Andrew Tate, the context of his delivery is what polarises people's opinion.
He's very sharp, he's very articulate, as you say. Sure. He's an incredible wordsmith, actually. But are you sure, can you work out, because I can't always, whether he's trying to be comedic, whether he's trying to be quite funny, when he's really pushing it and saying that, you know, women should just stay at home and men go to work? I can't work out whether he's joking a bit.
Yeah, I don't think he's joking. I think that he's hiding, perhaps, or masking his own insecurities you know, from perhaps his childhood. When you look at his background, his father and his mother, and kind of what his upbringing was like, I think it's easy to hide his insecurities in that kind of hyper-masculine image that he's trying to portray.
Wasn't his father the first black chess grandmaster?
That's
Is
true.
that right?
That's true.
Stephen Pound just told me that. The things that Stephen Pound knows, I didn't know that. So what kind of bearing do you think that's had on him? He's obviously he had a very driven father.
Yeah, driven father, which undoubtedly probably enabled him to then excel in the world of combat sports. And now he's at a place where obviously he's got this public persona, and kind of when there's an attachment to an identity, people get drawn into that and kind of put more fuel on the fire. And if you look at his messaging before he was cancelled and taken off social media platforms, it was not just polarising, but he was creating this sense of us versus them. It's we need to stand up, we need to take control, we need to be this type of man in the world today, and we need to fight back against government, big media, big corporate. Yeah, we need to push back against all of that. And there's a podcast I listened to late last year, and he was talking about taking out our swords. And it's very graphic, it's very assertive, almost aggressive, kind of this type of rhetoric that he's pushing.
But why does that appeal to so many men, young boys? What have we done to our teenage boys that mean that they're looking around for these kind of role models? That's
a great question. Too many people are focusing on Andrew Tate and the way that he projects his message and the way that he shows up or is perhaps evidenced in the media. When if we go back and we stop being so subjective, we look at more objectively, it's not just a gender issue around men and masculinity, it's more of a societal issue. You know, a lot of the work that I do and around, obviously, my book, Rethinking Masculinity, the concept is this kind of call to arms for men. There's so many men out there now that have become disenfranchised and disengaged, both in themselves with this loss of purpose or this lack of identity, and also in wider society, that they're kind of living a life that feels very stagnant and stale. Lots of middle-aged men then go on to kind of suffer in silence. The expectation that professional success equals personal happiness kind of leads them to a space where they overwork and underlive. And sons and arguably daughters are seeing this at home across the country and across the Western world. Yeah. These men that are up early, they're out the door, they're in work, or they're working from home or hybrid working, and they're kind of committing so much time, effort and energy to their careers in the expectation that they deliver personal happiness and this kind of provision for the family, both financially and in terms of security, that actually they're seeing their fathers tired, withdrawn, lacking friendships, lacking sense of purpose. And I think there's a real catalyst now for us to step up and to recognise that masculinity needs to mature.